Welcome. This is the first time I've ever run Conviction, so I'm excited about this. And I'm really grateful for all of your time here with me. I am really boundaried with my working hours these days, which is like ultimately a huge part of what we're going to cover on this. So I only ever do one masterclass, probably maximum once every 2 months after bedtime, and it's the only thing you'll basically ever catch me doing after bedtime. So I appreciate your time as much as I know you appreciate mine. And with that said, I'm not here to fuck about. We are here to actually make some change. And if I'm going to do a bedtime masterclass, it's going to be worth it, okay? Because I want to give some value. And that means that it's not going to be one of these sessions where you just sit and then you get bored out of your fucking brain and then you zone out and you're like, right, I'm going to put you to work because if you're going to spend your time here, then I want it to be impactful for you. And there's nothing worse than sitting on something and not loving it, basically. So it's fucking amazing to see some people that I don't know. Unless you are like driving, I think Lindsay says she's driving. I would love everyone, and I will wait. I will be that bitch that waits and calls people out, okay? I want everyone to put in the chat how they're feeling if you haven't already, because that way I know you've got the chat box. I know you're like in the room. I know you're like, oh my God, this bitch is actually like, she cares. She cares that I'm on this. And I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through. So then you've got the chat box and you can see what other people are saying if that's interesting for yourself. Sarah says, in full celebration of myself today. Yes, you are. Hell to the air, excited to unlock some shit. Lindsay is with us and can't wait. There's fire emojis. Lucy can't wait. Other Lucy feels alive. Gemma, how are you? Positive. We love this. You are Zoom user though. Oh, that's fine. Just let me know because I love to call people's names so I can like be with you properly. Excited for this, excited and optimistic, feeling fired up, lounging with camera off, feeling relaxed, loving your energy. We're loving yours. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, right. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm going to give like a little brief intro in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to tell you sort of what to expect. So I'm going to pace you through how the core piece of my work works and the piece that I feel the most passionate about in what I do these days and what I love so much and how I get results with women. And I am very excited for you guys to feel light bulbs go off and have breakthroughs of your own during this. I'm also incredibly transparent. Obviously, this is what we do inside my program. So there will be an offer at the end of this. You're welcome to join me. You're welcome to ask questions here or probably via Instagram if you're interested or if you have to hop off early. It's just good for you to know that that is an offer on all of my programs until the end of April. So that's kind of what we will be doing in here. And it's nice to just be transparent and know that you're not going to be hard sold to, but also obviously this is what I do deeper with you guys in my programs. So I'm going to pace you through a little bit of my story, which I think you'll be able to see yourself in one way or another, and it will be cool to kind of know where. I'm going to give you a little bit of education, and then we're going to do a visualization. Happy fucking days. The first thing that I want you guys to do, and if you feel good sharing this, feel free, but it's really important that you clarify this. So maybe like write it in your notes, like whatever you're going to do it. But basically, you have to answer this question for this whole thing to work, okay? Because everyone's going to come to this sort of conversation with like at a different point, okay? So I want you to just center in for a bit and just think, what is my next level? Like, what am I going to apply the education that I'm going to go through with you and, all of the sort of breakthroughs to? What is my next income level? What is my next sort of experience that I'm craving behind my success and my business? And everyone give me a thumbs up when you feel good on that. I'm just going to sort my 6-year-old. Perfect timing. Okay, everyone's got it. Happy days. Has anyone not got it? Is anyone not clear? And even if, like, if there's lots of people that are going to watch this on replay, so even if you're like, I'm not clear, then that's your next thing is like, I really want to be clear on the direction I'm taking my business, but I would love you to bring some kind of like income goal or kind of that sense of the ceiling that you feel that you're at the moment, because we often feel like we're at a ceiling. Happy days. So, a quick condensed version of my story, because we're not going to be here all day today, but for people that have no idea who I am. So I'm Lissy, and I became a single mum when I was 21. And I started my first business in my living room, and I trained to be a makeup artist. And I started my makeup business, built it through blood, sweat, and tears. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. I literally had no fucking idea what I was doing. I was raising a baby at the same time. I'd left a DV relationship, if you know, you know. And times were dark, and I was at complete rock bottom. Like, all of my confidence had been stripped. I'd had to leave the relationship in the night. I had little to no support with the baby whatsoever. I didn't have any friends where I'd had to move. And I just felt this tiny flicker inside me while working a fucking terrible admin job that was like, this literally can't be it and it can't get worse. So I might as well give something tiny a go. I never thought I was like starting a business. I just thought I'd like wax a few legs in my living room and make 40 quid, which was literally felt like the biggest thing I'd ever done at the time. And things went from strength to strength, and I went all in. And very long story short, I built that business to six figures in my early 20s, won a massive national award, and it was like my baby. And it was the best thing that I could ever have done, because especially going from being someone who had nothing, literally nothing, was on housing support and benefits, and that in itself was humiliating for me, but to also feel like my life was thrown away. And not only was I not going to build the lifestyle for me and my daughter that had always been important to me, I've never been someone that has any kind of desire to settle or live average or, offer that kind of life to my kids, but also that feeling as a woman that I wasn't fulfilled. And that was probably the biggest piece. So lots of things happened. I was also fighting a disease during that time as well. The business was going really well. I was doing loads of like teaching. I started doing massive events, private education, training different artists up privately in the studio. I had two more babies in a long-term relationship at the time, and then lockdown happened. So I woke up in 2021 and I had become single with my three kids. My youngest was 9 months, and my middle was one, and my eldest was six. And my whole life had changed overnight. My business had been completely burnt to the ground during lockdown. So everything I felt I'd worked for was really massively down to zero. And I had to start again, which was completely soul destroying. So I started again, and it was around that time that I got into business mentorship. So that was in 2021, what, 5 years ago. And there'd been a little bit of demand around me for, there was like some people training in skin, there was an Etsy business, a couple of people with small businesses that were basically just like, can you teach me what you did? And I was like, fuck it. So that was one of my first tastes years later of that humbling feeling of like having to start again, because I'd done that thing where you like start from the ground up, and that's fucking terrible enough. Like, who's been there, right? When you start the business and you get the thing going. But there's also another experience when you have to like be a new girl again, be a beginner again. And even moving into mentorship, coaching of some kind, really flooded me with a lot of that self-doubt of like, literally, who the fuck do I think I am? Like, I couldn't even call myself a coach for like 6 months, even though I had clients. And I remember a friend of mine took me for a walk and she was like, will you please just call yourself a coach at this point? Because I was like dancing around it. But stepping into that new identity felt, I don't know, I mean, I suppose people these days call it imposter syndrome, but it just felt alien. I felt like, who the hell do I think I am to do this? So during that time of my life, I built some of the business back up. I was also doing business mentorship, and I started basically making more money by going into online sales. So I stocked a brand of makeup called Me Cosmetics, which is usually only stocked in spas. And I was basically in threat of losing my house with my kids really quite seriously. And I had a really short amount of time. So my back was massively against the wall, and I was just like, I'm gonna fucking make this work, which is what pivoted me into online sales for the first time. So I quickly escalated in the online sales and went on very, very fast to creating European sales records within the company, which was a huge deal because I think I was basically their only solo artist stocker. Everyone else was like big spas that you'll know the names of across Europe. And that was my first taste of scalable income to a degree, making money online. And once I got a taste for that, the makeup business was done. I was like, I cannot untaste what I've tasted here, you know? And my position just changed where I had the three kids. Like, my sort of dream job that I'd built, it just wasn't such a dream anymore. You know, it was fucking hard to get to bookings. I didn't have any childcare. Like, I was slammed time for money. I remember having to choose between going to my eldest sports day or work, and I had to choose work where I was in the position I was, and it just killed me. And I was like, I can't do this. So during that messy season where I was just like, fuck it, and all of the things that I'm going to teach you today sort of started brewing, I suppose, the seedlings of everything that I learned and discovered and went through the hard way started brewing for me. I moved into network marketing, which some of you I know have got experience with. And I moved away from the company that I was working with. And so I was just business coaching and I was in network marketing, which is basically selling products online as well and building teams that do the same. And it was during this time that I started, I think, really looking at success through a different lens. I'd done this sort of beginner business thing. You know, I'd got the business to six figures. I got the sort of basics of business. You need new clients. You need to know who your ideal client is. You need to know how to sell. Like, I got that shit. But I think having the opportunity to study so many different people, I just became fascinated, which I have always naturally been anyway, with the patterns that I picked up and the human behavior. And my membership, my business coaching membership, was 50% mindset and 50% strategy. And I noticed after a little while that my clients were experiencing the same problems. They were hitting up against the same ceilings. And the worst part was I was as well. I was behind the scenes hitting those same experiences. So I wrote some of them down so that I remembered what to tell you. So things like no matter what they achieved, it still didn't feel enough. And I want to know if any of you guys relate with this. Like, I would see them having such wins that I'd be like, you'd have never achieved this like 6 months ago or a year ago or before we'd worked together or whatever. But it was very short-lived, like that feeling of like, yes, you know? Um, Things like not feeling safe to stop. So no matter what they earn or what they achieved or how well they did, it's like the weekend came or they'd book a holiday to Greece with their family and they still couldn't stop. Like they couldn't put their phone on airplane mode. I was experiencing exactly the same thing. Um, no matter what they achieved, they still didn't feel good enough. They still didn't feel worthy enough. And I noticed that all of them had this same sort of ceiling somewhere. And that might be down like to the unique client, really. It would be like the kind of client that they could really claim that they would work with. Like there was just always this kind of block. So during this time, I went through the worst burnout of my entire life during network marketing. I actually had two of my fingernails on my right hand fall off, which was absolutely fucking horrific. And long story short, I stopped. And for the first time in my life since I'd been 21, I took basically what they call a fallow year. I would say it was a bit of an SOS emergency. And I thought at the time I was only going to take a week off, which was the first week, let alone a few days that I'd taken off in at least 2.5 years. And it ended up being a year. And it was the closest I've ever felt to having psychosis. So I had psychosis when I had my middle baby. And it was the closest since that point that I've ever felt again to quite literally feeling like I was losing my fucking mind. And when I stopped, I basically made the decision while writing off a little bit of residual income and so on and so forth, that I was not going to rebuild anything until I got to the root of why this shit happens in me and for other people and for the sake of my sanity and humanity. So during this time, I studied neuroscience. I geeked out on everything and anything you could possibly get your hands on because it's a very humbling experience when you're someone who has literally taught mindset and business and strategy for a fucking long time, okay? To have to face the mirror of why am I still being out-earned by other people on the internet? Why am I still being out-earned by people fucking 5 or 10 years younger than me or less qualified than me, less experienced than me? Like, why can I not seem to get to this level that I know is inside me? What is the thing or things that are there? So, before I tell the rest of my story, I would just love to know if any of you guys can relate or how that kind of lands for you in the chat. Yeah, having to choose work over family, exactly that, which was killing me. One of the biggest reasons I stopped as well, actually. And I remember actually, and there's so many pieces of my story, I could tell my story for 2 hours, which I absolutely won't. But the mentors that had been supporting me during the time, I remember I'd like really pedestaled them big time, and my God, I have so much to thank them for. They taught me so much. But when I got closer, like behind the veil, and saw the reality of things that only I could have seen being that close to them, of how they were with their kids, of what family life was really like, of what their mental health was really like, what their work-life balance was really like, just like the hours that they were working. I just remember having this really sobering moment where I realized I was in this like illusion, I think, and realizing that I was chasing something. But when I was looking at this sort of end result of what I was, I suppose, aspiring to and chasing towards, I was like, I don't want that. Like, if I'm working this fucking hard, if that's the end goal, like, great, you've got a Porsche. I'm not that bothered about that. Like, they had the same shit, constant overthinking, constant self-doubt, burnout, complete lack of presence with their kids. The family felt it, the relationship felt it, weekends were consumed by work. And I was like, I don't fucking consent to this. I just don't accept that this is how it has to be. And if it is, then I actually don't want it. And that was the first time that I'd ever questioned my drive, I think, and that like, why am I constantly in a position where I feel like I have to choose between the work thing and the success thing, or choose between my quality of life, And I think we all hit a point, maybe it comes at a certain age, maybe it comes at your Saturn return, maybe it comes in your 50s, maybe it comes after a divorce. We all hit a certain point where you're like, the quality of life thing is just more important, or more important than it used to be. I can relate to everything you said. When you said people younger or less qualified doing better, I better feel that super frustrating. So we're going to move into a little bit of education, but what I really massively learned, and this is a key takeaway, maybe you already know this, but maybe it's going to act as a reminder for you, is why all of this happens. And when I say all of this, I mean the shit that you don't want to come along with you in this next level. And maybe you're so new to this conversation or my work or whatever that you haven't even contemplated until this moment that you can earn the money and build the business and have the level of success that you want without bringing that kind of shit with you. Are you going to need to work hard? Obviously, but you're going to need to redefine what working hard actually looks like. And that's the concept of conviction is working hard to me used to be being the one that worked the most hours in the room, the one that did 16-hour days while raising three children on my own until my fingernails fell off. It's a fucking stupid idea, by the way. Don't recommend it. Whereas the concept of conviction is actually being the bravest, most courageous, most authentically powerful one in the room because it makes complete logical sense that if every micro action you took in your business, posting content, networking, sales conversations, potentially public speaking things or podcasts or things where you're visible, if those actions, as an example, the investments that you make, the people that you learn from, the actual clients that you decide you want to work with and attract came from a way more powerful version of you, they would naturally be so much more effective. Are we all in agreement with this? Yes. And so that's the piece ultimately that you have to have your mic drop moment on, bring yourself attuned to constantly, is how much more potent and powerful can I be behind the actions that I take to make them more effective if you want to achieve more with less? And the reason that we end up with these bullshit patterns that we don't want, right? The overthinking, the procrastination, the self-doubt, all of that stuff, is because we naturally know this underneath. Like we naturally know that our success is going to require more power from us, right? But we kind of try to solve that by external things. So, can you guys think of something that you've done until now to try and satiate that need for owning your shit more? Who can think of something that you've done and do or rely on to ultimately make yourself feel better, make yourself feel more confident, make yourself feel more powerful? What is something that you do? Time blocking my days with no gaps to make myself feel really busy. I fucking love you. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. That is such a perfect example. So a couple of like the core examples that I wrote down for this that I definitely used to do in the past, I see, and I think are natural for us. And if you think about that example that I gave you guys, like when I first got into coaching, right? And it was that like, I'm not good enough. It's like, what was that version of Liz waiting for to be good enough? Like if we could go back and she had the level of emotional intelligence that I did then, which I can assure you was considerably less, and you were like, Liz, what is it that you're actually fucking waiting for in order to be like, I'm a world-class coach? It would be to earn more money, to do this for a longer amount of
Can I
time.
call and see where that guy is? No, I'd have to call the builder.
More time in the game, more sales, more clients' results. It would be those things. And all of those things are outside of me. All of those things are outside of my control. So that's what we do, like you say, the busyness, right? busy ourselves, or I'll feel more confident when I get another client. I know I'll feel more confident when I have more strategy. That will fucking do it. I'll feel more confident when I get another qualification or a certificate, or I'm better at this, or have more time at this, or I just need another client, or I've got another year's experience in what I'm doing. And this is when we may feel a little bit more confident and it may give us that boost, but it is totally unreliable. It's totally fragile. It's totally giving our power away. And so that's why we start to then wake up at this point, usually when we're sort of on a call like this, and we realize we're on a roller coaster. We're on an emotional roller coaster. Who can relate with that? Where you feel high in the sale, and you feel low in the lack of the sale. You feel high when something on Instagram gets, I don't know, fucking 30 likes or goes viral, or, oh, it got 7 saves. Now I'm good enough, right? Your ego is like, cha, 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 yeah. And then you feel low. And so you start saying things like, oh, that reel didn't perform well. What the fuck does that even mean? What does that actually even mean? Like, I will make 2,000 or 6,000 pounds off a reel. What does perform well mean? Is it a fucking monkey, right? So you live on this roller coaster where without even realizing, you're so attached to the external result, and it's not even your fault because every piece of your life conditioned you to feel that way. Every piece of your life conditioned you to be like, the more I do, the better I am, the busier I am, the more worthy I am. And so, what we need to do is we need to break up with that and we need to locate that conviction from ourselves. Because as a woman who has had every single fucking thing taken away from me more times than one, I promise you, when you learn the art of being so in conviction of yourself, of your abilities, of your inevitable success, of your certainty, of your skills, of your heart, of your passion, of your capability, for no other reason than you just fucking know it, you will be unstoppable because no one can take that away from you. And when I say, just so everyone's really, really clear, no one can take that away from you, I don't just mean if your husband leaves you, all right? I mean when you have a really shit morning getting the kids to school, or you're on your period, or you have a massive fucking spot and you were going to film a reel today, or you just had a great idea, or a client drops out, or a sale that you thought was going to go through doesn't go through, or your reel gets 3 likes on Instagram, okay? I'm talking about that shit. So, the first question that everyone is going to answer, if you want to put it in the chat, happy days. If you want to write it down, no problem, but you're going to answer it, even if it's just out loud if you're driving or something. What are you telling yourself still? Because some of you will know some of this, but what are you telling yourself will give you conviction? What are you telling yourself will give you more conviction? I love and massively respect the radical honesty. I need to know more qualifications, and when my body looks a certain way. I think so many of us can relate with that. It's a big part of what I deal with in my work. Having my content batched or planned or ahead on stories. Aha. Something like I'm safer when I'm more prepared. serving more clients. Yeah, more experience in the game. So we're going to understand the simplest thing in the entire world. Again, some of you will know this, some of you will not know this. You can let me know if you knew it or if you didn't know it. It's the simplest thing ever, and I'm sorry I've not got slides. I fucking hate slides. Your thoughts are what create your feelings, not shit that goes on in the outside world, not the recession, not the client that didn't sign with you, none of it. Your thoughts and your beliefs are what create your emotions. They're what create how you feel, which, by the way, for the law of attraction, is your vibration. So you can go around beating the high vibe fucking drum, right? Or the positive mindset drum, but ultimately your thoughts are creating that feeling. So if deep down that subconscious thought and belief below the consciousness sub
Oh,
is
oh,
is saying, I don't know enough. I'm kind of there. Like I own my shit. I know I'm good at what I do, but I just need to own a few more clients before I'm safe enough to go high ticket. Yeah, whatever it is, immediately your vibration is there. It's not in the affirmation that's stuck on your fridge. I promise you. It's already there. And that's what changes our actions. So the results that I create with women, for example, one of my favorite clients that I've worked with for a long time, she came to me at 3K months. She'd done higher months, but she'd plateaued right down to like 3 to 5. She's at 10K months now in her fitness business, and she works 10 hours less a week. That has not happened for any other reason than everything we're going through now, because we changed her thoughts and beliefs, which directly, naturally changed the way she felt, and it changed the quality of her actions. I didn't tell her things that are like, just say the thing that you mean, okay? Whilst she then still had the same limiting belief of like, I'm too scared to speak my truth. My sister's judging my content. I can't do that. We initially changed the way that she thought and believed about those scenarios. So sometimes people know this, right? Give me a or thing in the chat because fucking everyone's on camera off because you're clearly all in bed or probably the bath. But who knew that already? Who knew that? Some people know that, some people it's new. So why is it, which is kind of even more annoying, that some of us know this, right? Your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings change your actions, okay? Another example, in case anyone's not getting this, thought might be like, I'm not good enough to go high ticket. Okay, no one would buy my program. Fixed belief, fixed limiting belief, right? Feeling is shit, lack, wobbly. Action is may still force yourself to show up online that day because you have a strong mindset and a good work ethic, okay? But what you post is laced in this feeling of, don't really back myself. Yeah? So why is it that sometimes we can understand this in theory, but ultimately nothing's fucking changing? Does anyone know? Does anyone know why we can know this in theory, but absolutely nothing changes? Still, you still wake up the next day, you still go, I need to know more. You still wake up the next day and you still wobble. You still wake up the next day and you have a shit drop off with the kids, and you're like, I cannot get myself in the vibe and feeling and conviction that I know I need to be in to smash my business. That's because, similar to your clients, people don't have an actual pathway to implement this. And I work with a lot of NLP coaches, people that teach identity, people that know this, have studied it, sometimes even teach elements of identity. And they're like, I can't believe how much critical thinking and noisiness and overthinking and second guessing and self-doubt is still going on in my own head. And it's because they don't have an implementable structure that you can do right now or when the situation happens to actually take action on. It's just a lot of fucking theory, all right? There's no structure, which is exactly what I found in my fallow year. Is I was like, I can understand all of these pieces, right? I can understand it. I can understand that mindset work is bullshit. It's only surface level. It's only going to get you so far. It's the layer underneath that is going to affect everything. I can understand that strategy alone is so ineffective for my business. Like, it's not that important. Ultimately, once I know how to market and how to run a business, the biggest piece behind it is me. And that's the game changer that's not only going to make me more money, but it's also going to massively change the experience of how I make that money. I can understand it, but I still didn't know what to actually do, how to actually change that the next day. And that is where mindset versus becoming comes in. Mindset versus becoming. So that's what we're all going to snuggle into now. You want to get comfortable. I'm going to do a mini visualization with you guys and allow you to hopefully feel something in you. If you need to scribble like anything that comes up during it, feel free. So you shut your eyes, ground down. Hopefully no one's still driving. Lindsay's in the car. She's stationary. Get as comfortable as you can. Take a few slow breaths. Just feel yourself being supported under the chair. Let your body calm. Notice how your body feels. Take a moment. And your job during this visualization is to have the self-discipline that you do in the other areas of your life. Every time your mind strays, your job is to bring it back. That's the only thing you need to do, is bring it back to my voice and really take in what I'm saying to you. So I want you to imagine that you and I are sat in a boardroom, but it's a bougie boardroom because we're not basic bitches. Very light, it's white. You feel comfortable. You're in a nice, like, fluffy, cozy beanbag chair. And we're hanging out. Sun's shining, it's kind of warm. And I say to you, I am blind. And so I need to get a full concept of who you are. You and I are discussing where we're going to take your business this year. And in order to do that, we need to really look at the women in this business so far. And so to get a proper sense of who you are at the moment, I just need to ask you some questions, and I need you to be as transparent as possible with no judgment so that I can get a full picture of this. So first of all, I say to you, what is that goal, that level, the one that we first brought to the beginning of conviction? What is it financially, and what is the emotional experience? Is it 10K months with fewer hours? Is it 20K months? Is it 500,000? Is it just getting going? And how are you wanting to feel behind that? Are you wanting to feel stressed? What does your balance look like? And so, in the day-to-day reality of your business and your life, so that I can get a real sense of who you are, I want you to describe to me so that I can get that full understanding. If 100 was the highest level of conviction that you feel when you land your biggest sale, you get your biggest win, that moment where you get a client? On a daily basis, where do you feel that you are? If that is a 10, how do you feel out of 10 your average is? I want you to think about how you feel when you wake up in the morning. If we're looking at this ratio of 1 to 10, so that I've got a full idea of where we are, 10 is a natural knowing that everything you're aiming towards is inevitable. Where are you sitting on that scale? I want you to see yourself going through your morning routine, perhaps that you did this morning, a normal, realistic morning. The shit that you do, maybe dropping the kids off, maybe not that. Underneath those actions, as you're gearing up for work, as you geared up for work this morning, what are the things that you're thinking about behind your success and behind yourself? When you go to create content for the day, if that's part of your task, how do you feel about it? Subconsciously, so that I have an understanding to be able to see where this is. Are you thinking, I don't know what to say today? Are you thinking, no one's going to fucking like this? What are these subconscious beliefs underneath the actions that are being taken? Is there a strong confidence behind it? When we go to look at your sales this week, for example, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 about those sales before the week has even happened? If 10 was probably will land several sales this week, no big deal, natural inevitability. If I don't, I'm detached, but I assume that's where we will be. Or is there a subconscious block behind that space? Is there a subconscious belief, assumption that you already know it's not going to happen? You're already worrying about the lack of the sale. When you're going to serve your clients, how are you feeling there? Scale of 1 to 10. Are you feeling confident? You're in your zone of genius? Are there any doubts that present? Are there any wobbles? Are there any, did they like that session? Was that shit? Or are you feeling in that zone where you know you're like, I'm the fucking shit at this. I'm good. More people need this. I just need to be seen. I want you to really describe to me now the woman that sits here right now, keeping her focus behind this business, ready, so fucking ready for this next level to blast through this glass ceiling. How do you see yourself? Who is she? How is her relationship with money? How is her relationship with speaking her truth, with saying the thing that she means in her content, potentially on her podcasts, via her emails? And now I want us to reset in this moment. And with your eyes closed, staying in your space that you're in at the moment, we're going to create a new avatar. And this woman gets to be the woman that is going to see you through to this next level. The level that you know you're capable of, that is in reach right now. And together, we're going to design her. And as soon as you've got this design, she's going to step into your business and she's going to see it through. So, with this blank canvas and just a shape of a silhouette of someone, I want you to paint this version of the CEO that you want to see this next level in with you. And the first thing that you're going to imagine is on a scale of 1 to 10, when you see her, when you feel her, where is her energy if 10 is at the highest level of conviction? It doesn't need to be the loudest, it doesn't need to be the noisiest, it doesn't need to be inauthentic, but where is that energy quietly sitting? That vibe, her presence. If we're hiring this woman for the job, when she wakes up in the morning, how do you need and want her level of inevitability to be on a scale of 1 to 10? If you know you are leaving your whole business, dreams, potential in her hands, where do you need to know that this woman who's coming in level of inevitability is, knowing that this goal that you have is inevitable? It will happen. When she steps into the office to do this shit for you, and she's going to mark it if that's one of your tasks. What do you want to know when you look in her mind that she is a magnet for behind that action? Is she a magnet for going, my dream client literally cannot wait for me to show up online every day? I have something really fucking important to say, and I'm someone important saying it. When she's someone who says something strong, delivers her message, lets herself be seen, as you already are, how does she handle the natural critical thoughts that come in? The thoughts that are like, someone's going to think that's stupid. That was too much. How does she handle it? If you're paying her, you're hiring her, she's stepping into your business, where does she go from there? Does she spiral about it all afternoon? Is she thinking about it? Does she ruminate on it? Does she procrastinate because of it? Or does she have the mental ability to still have a human response from time to time in wobbles and center herself back in to complete lack of distraction from those thoughts? To be completely unavailable for that kind of narrative. When she's in her sales process, when she's holding sales calls for you, or she's in sales conversations, re-sign conversations, upsell conversations, how does she hold herself through that process? How does she feel on the other end of that conversation? Is she calling you going, I need a sales script. I need to know what to say to that question? Or does she not need that shit because she is the version of her who is a complete match for that client coming in? She doesn't need to know how to handle objections better because she just is the woman that when a client is being a pussy or needs persuading or is farting around or needs a strong word or whatever is unsure, she is the version of herself that can step up to that mark. It's fucking natural. The way that you'd push back on your partner or your best friend if you needed to say, shut the fuck up. How does she handle those sales conversations? When you're witnessing her and you're like, damn, she just nips that in the bud because she just is it. Who are the kind of clients that she attracts in? What kind of caliber? Are they people that need persuading, don't really want to do the work, don't fully value the transformation? Or are they people that you once believed didn't even fucking exist? You thought there was like one of them in the 8 billion people on this planet. And I want you to see this woman that you get to create, you get to demand, you get to hire. I want you to see her in action. Feel that power in your own belly. That power of the feeling when you get your biggest win. You land a client, you see the payment link come through, and that power being held through the actions of your day, through your morning, through a wobble with the kids, first thing, through a funny client message, bringing you back up, through someone delivering a message to you that was tough to read, digesting it, processing it, bringing it back up. And in this moment, I want you to think of one action that you will take tomorrow, one action, posting your content or writing an email or delivering something for a client, one action that's already in. What is one thing that you will do tomorrow? And I want you to imagine yourself taking that action from this feeling, this level of certainty in yourself. Before we come back into the zone, I want you to ask the version of yourself that you had a small chance to connect with, just the differences in thoughts. It might be one or three core thoughts or beliefs about the success that you're creating that were different to what you met the call with. Is it a skill set to keep yourself emotionally balanced? Is it a disbelief in yourself and your capabilities? Is it having this goal and constantly guessing whether you're capable enough or qualified enough? And what are the core feelings that you're so ready to possess instead? Maybe you're just being left with one thought. And I want you to thank this version of you for existing. Thank the version of you that met this space for everything she's done. I want you to thank the limits that we do see in ourselves and that we all have for trying to keep you safe, because that's what they're trying to do. And I want to thank yourself for the willingness to see things that can sometimes be quite uncomfortable or frustrating when you've known they're there. I'm going to let you guys come round for a second, and I would love everyone to just share one key takeaway that you took or one way that you feel. Chloe is typing. I am already good enough and I already have the evidence. 100%. 100%. And Chloe, where's one place like where you can really see that and connect with it? And obviously, that is something that you can so fucking see so many times before this moment and it comes and goes. Where is one area that you've seen in that experience? And I'm obviously so excited to do this that is pulling away from it? Was there one place that you're like, I get this and I know it and I feel it at times and it goes because, or it goes when, or if I can just, when I can just learn to. Sarah is typing. Amanda, did you see anything for yourself? Sam, I don't think I've heard from you. Lindsay, I feel like you had to exit the car. Gemma, Rosie, loose and loose. Annabelle. Did anyone find that tricky? Did anyone feel a real shift in how you were feeling? I can translate all of my one-to-one into a group space, 100%. 100%. And when you do these exercises, when you repeatedly get into shifting between sort of the self-identity that we have now and the self-identity that is literally going to carry us into that next level, it's like this bubble or this space that once seemed to exist. This like, what the fuck am I waiting for? Just gets popped. And it's like there literally isn't a need. Like there literally isn't a need to wait. But the reason that we wait is because all of the noise in between gets in the way. And when I was in my fallow year, I invested like 5 grand, ridiculous, into learning how to make a course. So it was like how to move your one-to-one work into a course, which is something I do with clients all the time now. And you absolutely do not need to pay £5,000 for that, okay? And I was like, this will be it. And I still thought that I'd seen all of this, right? I still thought, yeah, I've seen it. It was in myself. I was this version of myself, and I just need to rewire myself to become this version of myself, the version that fucking knows this is inevitable. But I still thought that I needed the strategy. I still thought it was the strategy that would get me there. So I paid £5,000 and I did this course. She was great. Did I get over the line? No, I fucking didn't. Because I still hadn't become the version of me who could do that. And so the way that we lead this when we're popping that bubble, when you're like, I don't need to wait, I can do this now, I can jump now, is we need to ensure that we're leading that with the actual identity, the thoughts and beliefs that the version of you who has the successful group course has. Because for as long as we don't, 6 months later, you're still there. You're like, oh yeah, I will do it. I think it's because I've been really busy. Or, oh, I think it's because the tech freaked me out. Or we still stay in this space because your identity will always keep you stuck. And so you want to really use this in your journaling practice, or if you're not a journaler, talk it out on a walk, talk it to ChatGPT when you're driving. Like, who is the version of me who has this next level? How does she think? How does she feel? What does she believe? And where is this on a micro level? Because I think too often this happens on this big macro level, right? It's like, oh, she's just like on stage and like owning her shit. Meanwhile, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is still happening, and you're still thinking that reel was fucking shit and no one cared what I had to say. So you want to really look at it on this granular level. I am so satiated being this woman. Oh, yes. So interesting to tap into that whole different level of conviction that already sits within exactly that. It already sits within you. And your job as detectives, if that piece really hit where you're like, oh, I've had that same breakthrough that Liz has talked about, where it's like, I'm only really like I'm in this habit of my confidence and my self-belief and owning my shit coming from landing a new sale, that I need that feel-good feeling comes from the outside. Your job from here is to break that habit. And the way that you will break that habit is by becoming a detective. And you're going to need to set repeated alarms on your phone if you need to, or something where you start to catch yourself, where you're like, I just fucking did it again. I just had a high happen and I validated myself based on the high. But when the high didn't happen, I went back into the low. I lulled again. Whereas your job actually is to connect to that feeling within at the start of the day, at the start of the action, at the start of the week, and learn how to unconditionally rewire that set point so that you just do feel like that. That is your norm. That is your norm. And when something shitty happens, you know how to process it healthily, but get back up on that frequency scale pretty high. Feel really relaxed now. It just feels easy. When I'm creating content, I haven't been able to speak freely as I doubt that I don't know enough or sound smart enough. I feel like so many will relate with that. But I have the knowledge and more authentic and I am more aligned, clients will come in 100 fucking percent. And it's really dissolving and looking at those stories, Chloe, of like, what is the story that I'm actually telling myself here? Like when this happens, when I go to stop myself, just talking about the things that I already know, what is the story? Is that story like it's never only just I don't know enough. It's like secretly comparing ourselves to someone else, or seeing something and being like, oh, well, I'm not on that level. And it's creating the story that you want and rewiring that story in instead. Because if we have that underlying um, limiting belief story there, if we shove an affirmation over the top that's just like, no, I am good enough, then it's not going to change. It's like we want to really look at that belief and be able to get rid of it and rewire that new one so that you can really, really feel that. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're just taking a shitload of action, still feeling exactly the same. I need to back myself 100%. That is what I need to expand. What do you need to expand? Or is that you? Someone's just said. Cool. Just going to read one more of these. Right. Does anyone have any questions from here? I'm 10 grand into strategic business coaches rather than fixing the root problem. Every time I think it will fix to scale and it's not. No, every single time. Not anymore, sister. I need to show up and stop overthinking. Did you get anything else? 100%. I've been I've seen so much through this. I can see I slipped back into stories. I can so see where I need to up my level identity and stop depending on my external to make me feel a certain way. Hashtag roller coaster. Yes. And that's the thing. I think like sometimes we do know a lot of this stuff. And I always find it humbling to be the student of my own work. Put your hand in the air if you experience how humbling it is to be the student of your own fucking work so many times. But that's where the importance of having this toolkit to be able to rewire it is fucking key because you need to know how to implement this. So I'm going to shut up pretty soon because it's 9:05. And we're going to move on from here. But I want to talk you through any of the basics from here about what we will do or what we will do inside of my programs, because I feel like you've taken enough from today, especially that you're going to go and sleep on this, journal this down after this, keep your notes, reflect back on them, send yourself a voice memo on voice memo notes on your phone. I do that all the time to like summarize sessions if I want to really learn them. And you want to give yourself the opportunity to not be overwhelmed by lots of different stuff that you've seen, but really just focus maybe on one core takeaway that you've seen that's actually in your own way. and really be the detective in the real world when it comes to emotional or identity type work. What's really easy is to sort of enjoy it and then keep it really separate from who you then proceed to be in the next 24 hours. And your job is to go through and see where you slip back into that identity and know where you need to start applying the tools that you're going to do. So, to summarize super quick, the cycle that I use and teach to do this. First of all, we create capacity in your head. So you can write this down, you can steal this, or this is obviously what we do together. Number one, you have to create capacity in your head because right now your head is full of fucking all sorts, right? I always explain this as like if you and I went shopping, maybe we would do like an ASOS haul, okay? If you're going to bring that ASOS haul back and you've got loads of nice new clothes, it's going to be really stressful to try and shove that in your new wardrobe and completely unnecessary because there's probably a load of shit in there that you don't need. So your first job is to create capacity to purge. I'm more than happy to give you the examples that I give my clients because it is so basic, bitch. But literally as simple as like level everything up, create some space, go and clean your fucking car, pay that one bill that's been lingering, make a fucking decision, like make a call on a relationship that you've been lingering, just anything that's been in your way, creating and taking up space, noise, get rid of it. And get yourself in the habit and the pattern of consistently doing this. Like, once a week, once a month, leaning back into that purge. Because if you're wanting to genuinely shift identities, if you've seen that you're like, this level isn't going to happen from person A, like we love person A and she's got us here and like she's a bad bitch, okay? But she's not going to get us here. You need to get rid of the stuff in your physical environment that is that as well. Your second step is to create awareness. We've done a lot of that today. Self-acceptance, admittance without judgment. That's not going to be helpful. And that can be simple. It doesn't need to be a big deal. But it's just a new level of self-awareness of what is going on. And a core part of that awareness of like, oh my God, every time I go to do X, I think Y. Every time I log on to social media, I see other people's posts and I have subconscious thoughts immediately comparing myself and making myself shitter compared to them. How interesting. Every time I go on, I think they're so much better. How does this come more naturally to them? Yeah? Blah, 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 blah. More awareness of what's going on. And as I say, the most important part of this awareness, and you might have found that you caught this tonight, is not believing it as truth. And that's the question you want to ask yourself. Am I willing to be big enough to not believe this as truth? The prompt I would give you here is this what I want to be true? Is this what I want to be true? If I'm the creator of my reality, if I am the magnet in my world, which you are scientifically, is that thought, that belief, what you want to be true? And if not, you've got to break up with it sharpish because it's navigating everything. Your next step is that you want to choose what you want. Like fucking pick a mix. What do you want, right? What do you want in this ingredient? What do you want in this identity? Who do you want to become? Who is this version that creates this? This isn't a big question. It's just amusing. Who is she? What are the thoughts? And you might just want to choose one. You might find one core limiting belief at this point. I can't work with structure, whatever. Okay? Is that helpful? Is that what's going to get me to my next level? Probably not. So, what is the thought, belief, core truth that you want? And your job from here is to habitualize that thought instead, because your thoughts are only habits. That's all they are. You're addicted to them. We all are. We're all addicted to our thoughts. So we want to get you addicted to literally rewiring that thought so that you just believe it. You just wake up in the morning and it's just inevitable, which is the biggest result that my clients get every time. It is the best one. It's more exciting to me than any other thing that I ever see anyone create, is that time that that message drops where they're like, I just know. I'm just unshakable. Like, I now just know it's happening. I'm not questioning it. I'm not fannying around. I'm not stressing. I'm not thinking, will it happen? I'm not thinking it won't happen. It's just like a knowing. I just know it. I just believe it. I just believe the goal is mine. And the peace that you get from that is fucking phenomenal. Because when your brain knows something is inevitable, it stops stressing about it. Like, you just know that when you go and pick your kids up from school at the end of the day, they're just going to be there. Correct? Or whatever example you want. Okay? Your dog when you get home. You just know that you haven't spent all day like, will it happen? And won't it happen? And will they be there? And won't they be there? And am I a good enough? Subconsciously. It's just like, pfft. And so the peace and strength and power and groundedness that you're able to show up in the rest of your day is through the roof because you're not distracted by it. It's not consuming your energy. It's not taking your focus. It's not toing and froing. It's not making you overthink. It's not sabotaging your consistency. It's not making you play small. And so we want you to get to this inevitability, which happens when you just repeat and rewire that thought. And that is the last point, which is completely changing your emotional set point in your body. So those first questions that we called on, which is if you at your highest level of conviction and certainty, not boldness, not shoutiness, not that, but just that sureness, that security in who you are and what you're doing and where you're going and what you're going to achieve. That's a 10, 9, 10. What you're going to work towards here in your becoming is that set point, your norm for 90+% of the time to be around that 9, 10 in your body, that feeling that hopefully at least most of you got to experience during that mini visualization of that woman who just knows the way that you should. And from there, we do a few strategic changes in your business to align with that. And this is where the strategy, like Chloe said, that you've spent 10 grand on, okay, which is really normal, like most clients that work with me, it's cool. It's almost like an added bonus because the strategy that you've learned elsewhere, maybe that's just through your own experience, maybe it's through building business the messy way, maybe it's through investing so far, and it's certainly with me, the bits that I do with clients, which ultimately is positioning and messaging as my area of expertise and pulling brand message from you, which is so fucking important. This is where your strategy starts to work 10x because all of the stuff that you've already learned, how to make content, how to get clients, how to land sales, how to serve, all of the stuff that you've learned, you start to look at it with a fresh lens, with a fresh perspective. You start to be able to revisit these skills that you're already doing day in, day out anyway, from such a better place. So for me as a coach, to have pivoted from mindset and strategy, what I found was this piece is the one that changes the game from being told by a coach, like, you just need to say what you mean, but not being able to, right? How many people have been on content courses where the coach is just like, just say what you mean, just speak your mind, just speak your truth. But behind the scenes, you're like, even if I do that, I have to be on a good day and then I overthink it for 4 days afterwards and want to archive the post, right? This is where it's totally pointless us teaching strategy until the woman is the version of herself that can just execute it and have the tools to be like, we're not spiraling about that. we're just doing it. We're just owning it. Right. Adore you all. I will let you all go. If anyone wants to stay on or ask any questions, feel free. I'm going to end the recording in a sec. Been so grateful to spend tonight with you. Let me know how you get on. Big love.